So Mist is always advertising that they are API driven. So pretty much everything they do is by using API. And this is true. If you use a dashboard, every time you do a change or every time you view something, it will make API calls in the back end. So in this video, I will show you how you can actually deep dive into which API calls I made when you mess with the Mist dashboard. And I'll show you that in Safari. So the first thing you have to do is actually enable the developer options. So by default in Safari it's not enabled. So all you have to do to enable that is go to Safari Preferences, and then in the Advanced tab, all the way at the bottom, you have to enable the Show Developer menu in the menu bar, right? Once you have that, at the very top, you'll see this Develop menu. That's right there. And then the one you need to enable here, or the one page we need to open is this one, the Web Inspector. So if I click on Show Web Inspector, then I'm going to have this panel at the bottom of my browser where I'll be able to have a lot more information about what's going on this web page. Okay, and the tab we're interested in here is the Network tab, and this is where you'll see all of the different network resources or network code made on a single web page. Okay. At this point, if you want to, find those different API calls, I would advise you to filter the URL here by using the API URL. So you can just type api.mist.com, and then here you will be able to see all of the API call made when you load a page or when you do a change. Okay. So if I reload my page here. This is just the the home page, the dashboard. Then you can see a whole bunch of different API calls I made, to load this page, right? And you can have a preview of what's going on the left here. You can see they're getting some stats, some counts, some devices, and on the right you can see how long it took to make these calls. Okay, so let me show you one specific example where we'll be able to dive within one specific API call, so you can know exactly which API call is made, and that can speed up the process when you're writing your own script instead of going back to the documentation and figure out exactly which API call you need to make. Is it a put, is it a get, and what type of URL do I need, what type of data do I need to send to the Mist dashboard. In order to figure out all of that information faster, you can just use this tool and pretty much copy what the dashboard does. Okay, so the example I wanted to show you here is renaming an AP, right? So what type of API call is made when I rename an AP? So I will go to my AP tab here, and as you can see, I have one AP here that has no name. So I'm going to click on this AP to modify it, and here, as you can see, I can change the name. So I'm just going to specify a name. And before I click on save and actually, push that change to the cloud, I'm going to clear all of my network entrance here so I can see my API calls. I will be able to find out which API call was made. Right? So here you can just click on this icon at the very end here. It says clear network items, right? So here everything is cleared up. And when I click on save, you'll see a couple of calls I made. And the one that I'm interested in is actually the first one here. And if you look at the first one, you actually have different options here that you can toggle through and understand exactly what happened during this request. The first thing I like to do is go to the headers. And in the headers, you can see here what type of request was sent. So you can see to put, and you can see exactly the syntax of the URL. So you can actually, reproduce that exact syntax when you go and do your API call in your script. You're going to need your site ID, you're going to need your device ID. And if you want to know more information about that, you can always go back to the API documentation and get more information about that specific call, right? So that's a URL. What about the data that was sent alongside the URL? So to preview that data, you can go to Preview, and then here you have a drop-down menu, and you can go back to Request. And here it will show you the data sent alongside that URL. And I like to click on this formatting option here, and it formats everything nicely as a JSON, organized file, and I can see exactly which name was sent, right? No surprisingly here, I can see the name I set in the URL, and this is the entire data that was sent alongside my API call when I sent that API call. Okay, so now if I want to do the same thing in my script, I can just reuse that data to do it. And then here, I can also look at the response. So look at the data I got back from the Mist dashboard. What type of data do I get back when I make that call, right? And you'll see that the name is updated here. You have the name updated, so it means everything went well. If I go to the header, I can see that the status of my API call is okay, so it means everything went well. Okay, so it's just a quick way to find out which API calls were made when you do a change in the dashboard. If you want to implement a script that does exactly what you did in the dashboard and you're not too sure which APIs calls were used, you can actually use that trick to find that out and then try it out after that in your script. Okay, so I hope this video was useful. If it was, please give it a like and consider subscribing to my channels if you want to hear more about these type of videos. Thank you guys. Bye bye.